Cities past hotel rooms, family, I see you soon. When I've worked myself down to the bone, this glamorous life with all of its highs is only a shell. Oh, can't you tell?
Hey everyone, it's been a hot minute. I am going to answer the most frequently asked question that I get, and that is, how is the van? Let me tell you, it's just a disaster. There's like crumbs on the dashboard and we got some like gnarly gum residue.
Don't wanna lose my mind, yeah. Don't wanna lose my mind, yeah.
Every scratch, every dent, every breakdown of this van has a story. It's part of its battle wounds. I've got about 170,000 clicks on this thing. I bought it when it had 80,000 clicks. It's lived a bit of a life. I mean, if you just think about it, think of all the places that this van has been. It's been to Haida Gwaii, Lethbridge, all around Calgary, Brelorne, Vancouver, and we're still going. These scratches left on the van, but it reminds me of the time I was driving with Foresty Forest through some gnarly trails. This small, tiny pathway with heavy branches hanging over, and then as we were driving, the branches were just scraping up against the van. Good times. The pod needs a lot of work, and I want to run through it all with you today, and it's gonna take a minute. One of the things I need to fix on the van is the metal cage underneath that usually holds the spare tire. I was working on a TV show. I was working in the locations department. Hey! We had closed the highway down, and I was at one of the points to make sure none of the public was coming through.
Elise, this is great news. Please? Thank you.
When you're working around a film set, there's a lot of screws and nails and things laying around from construction that can pop holes in your tires. And then I realized that I had gotten a flat tire. One of my coworkers was nice enough to come and help me. And you kind of have to like crank it to make the metal bit come down and take the tire off. But for some reason, it was super stiff. We just basically like broke it trying to get the spare tire off. So the metal cage was hanging down to the point where it was dragging directly on the ground. Not only had I a flat tire, but I also now had a broken metal spare tire cage. So then I got help from the special effects department. They're just like a bunch of crazy dudes. They came and they helped me come up with a solution to keep the cage off the ground. We basically did it with like a piece of, I think it was like baling wire and a washer. So they basically just like tied it up. So right now it's dangling from a little piece of wire that's appended to the back, but it seems super fragile. And my whole fear this winter was that in below freezing temperatures, that wire would become super brittle and just break off, and I'd be driving along the highway and it'd just be like the metal cage would drop and be dragging. We're already halfway through winter. That is still one of my worst fears, and that hasn't happened yet, and it's one of the things I've been meaning to fix, but I haven't done it yet. I've been pretty busy.
Can you quickly go to 2, please?
Copy. Copy. We're gonna grab the horse rig.
Another thing, my diesel heater all around is broken. I had someone break into my van. Luckily, they didn't take off with anything, but they were rummaging through my van and in the process ended up breaking the ventilation system. They just pulled it apart, kind of like ripped it. So that needs to be re-put together, which is not a hard thing. It's just another thing that needs to be done. But also underneath the exhaust, I can't remember what happened with that, but that was one of the first things that broke. This is the exhaust. I was gonna call it the exhale. I must have been driving on some snowy road and then the clearance of my van wasn't high enough and then probably just smashed off the exhaust. And then also the heat insulation started unraveling and just coming off. That was also dangling and scraping against the ground. So I tied it up with a zip tie to make sure it wasn't dragging on the ground. I can't remember if I actually ordered a new one to fix it or not. I just realized the battery on my remote control has died, or it could be the power connection of my diesel heater to my battery that has been disconnected. I have to do some diagnostics on that to see what exactly is going on. So right now my diesel heater doesn't have power from what I know, or maybe it's just the remote control. The exhaust and the attachment to the pipe and the heat insulation has to be fixed. And also my ventilation system has to be reappended. In other news, I was working on another show. I worked on it for one day and it was just a really bad day. I was so tired and so frustrated with what was going on that I backed the van into this thing jutting out in the parking lot. It smashed the back of my van. So now I have this huge dent and it looks like I'm an idiot driver. My alternator was another thing that went wrong. I had a custom built alternator built for this van. I spent about $800 on it, installed it successfully. It worked for a little while, but then my fan belt started getting ripped up. I looked into it more and it turns out that the custom built alternator is the wrong size. And there is still a lot of stuff that works on the van. Like, my stove still works, which means my inverter also works really nicely. Switch it on, you can hear the beep, it's very satisfying. Yes. Which means my fridge is still working, which is basically a cooler by MobiCool, and yeah, if I plug it into the inverter, it still works. Oh yeah, I gotta plug it in first. Haha, that'll give me fridge temperature, I think 4 degrees. Fairy lights still work. My DC to DC charger is still working beautifully. That's this guy right here, and it's connected to my alternator and it charges my battery underneath. It's awesome.
Wave me goodbye, no matter how hard I try. I'm not amused. This industry's all too confused. They sold me a lullaby. Sold me a lullaby.
The knob on my roof van is broken. I tried reappending it the other day. I couldn't get it back on, but I was in a rush, so I didn't spend a lot of time doing that. But I have to just, it's a little thing. Because right now I don't really have control of my roof vent in terms of turning on the light and turning on the fan. I mean, it still works, but it's a struggle without the knob, and I have to find the knob. I feel like I would have put it in here, but I don't know where it is. I lost it. I have some rust that's forming all around my vehicle, mostly on the hood. I've been wanting to deal with that for a really long time. I think what I have to do is sand it a little bit and then repaint it.
All the king's horses and all the king's men. All the king's horses and all the king's men. Bring me goodbyes, no matter how I try. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Santa together again.
You know, I have such fond memories in this van. This isn't the end, but I'm just reminiscing about all the things that we have been through together. You know how scars remind you of stories? You know, you have a scar on your wrist from the playground when you fell and scratched yourself on something, or you fell off your bike and then you get that scratch on your knee that lasts forever. You know, or you make a stupid decision and you get that burn. You have scars all over your body, and then there's a story to go with every one of those scars. This van also has scars. It's taking me back down memory lane. I love reminiscing. So life is pretty good. Nothing to complain about, really. Lots of chores to do, but I also like to play and do other things. Yeah. Here's to procrastinating. And that's a wrap for now. If you like today, you're gonna love tomorrow.